Hello students, welcome to social science class. In last class, we have discussed about ancient civilizations of the world. In this we learnt Egyptian civilization. As a continuation of Egyptian civilization, today we shall learn about pyramids of Giza and decline of Egyptian civilization. In the decline of Egyptian civilization, we'll be learning about pharaohs, Hyksos, Thebes, Assyrians, Cambyses, Alexander the Great, Cleopatra and Roman invasion. Now let's move on to pyramids of Giza. The pyramids. The pyramids were erected on a rocky plateau on the west bank of the Nile River at Giza, on the outskirts of Cairo in northern Egypt. It is designated as UNESCO World Heritage Center in 1979. It is only one of the 7 wonders of ancient world still in existence. These pyramids were built as tombs for the country's pharaohs. Pharaohs were the king of Egyptian empire. As the Egyptians were one of the first civilizations to believe life after death. For that, the Egyptians mummified pharaohs and buried them in pyramids with his most prized possessions such as jewelry, funerary dolls, and items that would aid him in his afterlife. Dear students, did you all enjoy the magnificent structured pyramids? Yes, but in the beginning, graves were created by carving into the rocks and the hills. As the Egyptians moved north, they had to construct graves in the desert itself. Tall towers were built on these graves using huge blocks of stone in order to protect the eternal sleep of the dead. Kings and wealthy people vied with each other to build taller and taller towers. And the Greeks called these great structures as pyramids. The Great Pyramids of Giza. There are 3 pyramids in this Giza plateau. Khufu is the largest one in the world. Khafre is the second largest, where Khufu's son was buried. The third one is Menkaure, which is of Khafre's son, that is Khufu's grandson's tomb. And in front we can see the Great Sphinx of Giza. It's a stone statue with a lion's body and pharaoh's head built to guard the pyramids. It is believed to have the face of Khafre. Now let's move on to the pharaoh. The kings of Egypt were called as pharaohs. Pharaoh means a person who lives in a palatial house. The peasants who had accepted the rule of powerful Osiris now accepted the rule of pharaohs too. Pharaohs were ruling Egypt for about 20 centuries. These pharaohs were the strong rulers. They have strengthened and united the country. And they were believed to be the ruler, priest, god, and who were ruling on earth and not on heaven by the people of Egypt. Now, let us discuss about the decline of Egyptian empire. During the time of Pharaoh's rule, the Egypt was independent and was prospering for about 20 centuries. Pharaohs gave more rights to the common people. The lower class gained the right to be mummified. During this period, they had great trade and contact with outsiders. The building of pyramids caused heavy taxes, government debt, and human sufferings. And this period ended with civil wars. Meanwhile, the Hyksos, invaders from West Asia, had conquered Egypt. They were the first to use horse-drawn chariots. They ruled Egypt for 200 years and they taught the Egyptians military skills but were conquered in 1570 BC. Now let's see about Hyksos. Hyksos were the nomadic people who conquered and ruled ancient Egypt. Hyksos. Hyksos were an Arabian shepherd tribe who attacked Egypt and defeated them. Hyksos ruled Egypt for about 500 years. They looted the wealth of the natives, hence did not become popular in Egypt. The Jews who came wandering through the deserts in search of shelter were also hated by the people of Egypt. The Jews were assisting Hyksos by collecting taxes in administration. Hyksos were ruling from 1650 to 1570 BC. As a foreign dynasty they were ruling. They used superior weapons and wheeled war chariots which allowed them to dominate the Egyptians for nearly 500 years. Now let's move on to Thebes. The Hyksos were defeated by Thebes. In 1700 BCE, the people of Thebes rose in revolt against the foreigners. After a prolonged conflict, they succeeded in driving Hyksos out of their country. Thebes Ahmose I drove out the Hyksos, he reunited Egypt and established the new kingdom. During this period, Egypt expanded its borders and became the most powerful state in the Near East. Now let's move on to Assyrians. After 1,000 years of Thebes, Egypt came under the rule of Sardanapalus of Assyria. Next, after Assyrians, the Cambyses were ruling Egypt. The Persian Emperor Cambyses occupied Egypt in the 6th century BCE. He was the son of Cyrus. He expanded empire by conquering Egypt and he was a non-tolerant over their religious belief. He scorned Egyptian religion. And because of that reason, there was a widespread rebellion followed in the empire. By this time, the Alexander the Great occupied Persia in 4th century BCE and Egypt became the province of Macedonia. One of Alexander's military generals declared himself the king of Egypt and established the dynasty of Ptolemy. And he founded the city of Alexandria. Alexander was welcomed as a liberator. He was crowned as a pharaoh in Egypt. His follower, the king of Egypt, Ptolemy, has founded the city of Alexandria and a huge library on the Nile River. And next to Ptolemy, his daughter Cleopatra was ruling the Egyptian empire. Cleopatra and Roman invasion. Cleopatra was the daughter of Ptolemy. She was the last Egyptian queen. Cleopatra's father was Ptolemy XII Auletes. Cleopatra was one of the greatest pharaohs of all time. She was fluent in 7 languages. Some say she was not Egyptian. She was officially the last pharaoh of Egypt. Cleopatra tried her best to save her country. It was said that the Romans feared her beauty more than her troops. Twice she was successful Roman conquerors. However, in 30 BCE, Caesar's successor, his son-in-law Augustus, did not succumb to her beauty like his father-in-law. Once her army was defeated in battle by Augustus, Cleopatra chosen to consume poison than getting humiliated by her enemies. From then onwards, Egypt became a province of Rome. Children, today we discussed about pyramids of Giza and the decline of Egyptian civilization, which was a marvelous and magnificent civilization in ancient world. Now let's move on to the question hour. Are you all ready, children? What is pyramids? The first question is, what is pyramids? Pyramids are the tall towers built on the graves using huge blocks of stones in order to protect the eternal sleep of the dead. And the Greeks called these great structures as pyramids. Did you all get the answer? Good. Now let's move on to the second one. What do you mean by pharaohs? The answer is, the kings of Egypt were called pharaohs. The word pharaoh means a person who lives in a palatial house. Shall we go for the third one? Who were Hyksos? The Hyksos were an Arabian shepherd tribe who attacked Egypt and were ruling for about 500 years. Next, the fourth question is, how did Jews help Hyksos? The Hyksos who came wandering through the deserts in search of shelter helped Hyksos by collecting taxes in the administration. Now let's move on to fifth question. Who was the last Egyptian ruler? The last Egyptian ruler was Queen Cleopatra. Who was the last Egyptian ruler? The answer is Queen Cleopatra was the last Egyptian ruler. Now let's move on to the sixth and the last question. How did Cleopatra die? Cleopatra consumed poison and ended her life. Today, we have learned this chapter, that is Egyptian civilization and ancient civilizations of the world. Watch this video again and again. Learn the textbook as well as the workbook. Write the assignments and submit it on time. Write your workbook neatly. Keep it ready for the submission. Children, will see you in the next class with Mesopotamian civilization. Thank you, children. Take care.